This is the greatest moment in my life.
Hey, yo!
Hello.
Hello! Maxie, we're potatoes.
Well, that's good because that link you sent me looked like it was recorded via potato.
Via potato? Yeah, you did mention that. Yeah, that popped me when you sent me that, saying it looked like it was recorded via potato, yeah. But that's kind of the beauty of it, mate. It's rough around the edges, you know?
Well, we'll get to it and my thoughts on that whole facade.
Facade. Okay. Okay, no worries. No worries. You went back on your holiday after last week's show, mate, didn't you?
Straight away, yeah. Another
Yeah, was it all right, was it?
4-hour drive across the country. Yeah,
4 hours.
to get back. Yeah.
So what time did you arrive back?
I just start about 12:30, nearly 1 o'clock. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we went early last week, didn't we?
Oh my God. Good job I reminded you that we were going early in the first place. Oh, we're early next week, sir. Oh yeah, I forgot.
I don't sound like that.
You absolutely do sound like that. I bloody went and forgot, didn't I?
My wife says I've got a podcasting voice, that when I'm doing a show, my voice is different to how I talk at home.
Yeah,
so
I noticed that with my own voice, that I sound
Yeah.
different on a podcast. You must be like deep, dark, like rural Gloucester accent then when you
I must
finish
be like
podcasting.
proper glotter.
Yeah.
Shall I put kettle on?
See you all next week, folks. Thanks for watching. Bloody hell, Sharon, that was a right good podcast this week.
See, and whenever I do a Burnley accent or mock your way of speaking,
You sound like you've had a stroke. Yeah.
when you're going, my wife, nah.
Yeah.
Those are always my go-to words: laugh, wife, knife, because I can't do any other words. I can barely do them.
Well, maybe you should start practicing. I mean, this is a fun intro, mocking each other's accents.
Yeah, well, if we don't do
2
it,
minutes.
If we don't do it, some other bugger's going to, mate.
I mean, they do anyway.
Yes, this is true. This is true. Anyway. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Si, an SJP World Media production. Episode 95, I think, if I'm counting this correctly. I am Si, and with me, as always, is the world class to my big fat ass, the Freebirds to my slurred words, happens quite often, a podcaster who likes to use the Freebird rule himself whenever he's taken on 3 guys at once. The Podfather, Mr. Mags. How are we doing, sir?
It's always good to have three guys. I mean, you could tag in whilst you go and have a break and a brew.
That's right, mate.
Take over at the best bits, I suppose.
He's like, get the hot tag, yeah?
Exactly.
The quick 3-second finish.
I take the pin and the plaudits while someone else carries the team.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Who have we got in the chat early doors then, Magsy?
Well, we have got Connor first in the chat. Hello, sir.
Hello,
how
Connor.
are you? And then young Charlie, amazing Mrs. P, the better half of your good self. Indeed. Facebook user who is saying hello, gentlemen. Not both of us, only to one of us. So
who is the gentleman?
Well, we'll have to probably work that out between us. It's clearly me.
Obviously.
Anya, hello, stranger.
Hi, Anya.
Thanks for turning up, saying these intros are better than anything else. Well, it's the best part of the show. It's all downhill from here.
Yeah, and it starts quite low, to be fair. So it's not downhill far because it's almost there at the beginning.
And Connor, 3 guys at once and a 3-second finish. Sad that my mind automatically went there. Well, Connor, that's on you. I mean, you need Jesus, sir. Sorry.
If you pick up any kind of double entendres or kind of, extra meanings to these intros that I put together, it's completely on your dirty minds. I'm talking literally from a wrestling standpoint. That's all I ever mean.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, Connor, get your mind out the gutter and into the game, sir. And just as we're wrapping up there, King Pig's Bladders is in. Evening, ladies. Well, hello. Funnily enough, pre-recorded, I was actually talking about I'm a lady, seeing as I'm the lady potato in this picture.
Yeah. I mean, we look good as potatoes, mate.
I mean, I didn't need the feet or the plastic hands. I look like a potato anyway.
Apparently, Facebook user saying hello, gentlemen, is our good friend Tyler Peters saying hello. So, hi, Tyler, one half of the amazing Back When podcast with our buddy Scottish Danny, and that's once a month at the moment. And this month, because it's Halloween, because it's October, they're covering Back When the movie Halloween was released, the original. So, I'm really looking forward to them to listen talking about that one, Magsy.
Which is also kind of interesting because Scottish Danny is the reigning, defending, undisputed chain wrestling Halloween champion.
Oh yes, indeed.
Which is coming up. So get your costumes and your pictures ready, people.
Yes, and whilst you mentioned that, Magsy, we may as well give a bit more details about that. Our Halloween special. I don't think we're going to be live actually on Halloween night, are we? Because we've got a few other things planned, which we're not going to go into right now.
We are going live on the Sunday,
on the
Sunday. Day before.
Yes,
day before Halloween. Yeah.
Yes, and part of that, as always, well, I say as always, we've only ever done one other, but on our last one was obviously the fancy dress competition. Magsy and I will be dressing up, even though we can't win. But people send in their pictures of yourselves in your fancy dress, in your Halloween costumes, and the brilliant people who do our merchandise for the SJP World Media Network have said that they will donate a prize of the winners choosing t-shirt wise to whoever we decide or whoever gets decided on the night as being this year's Halloween champion. So there you go. Something to think about there. You get to pick pretty much any t-shirt you want from the SJP World Media merch site for nothing and get it shipped out straight to you.
And Scottish Danny in the chat as well. And Dan Griffin, who also says he was looking for chain wrestling, but this appears to be cane wrestling. Are you able to change it? Yes, that is true. I have just noticed that I missed out the H. But I don't think you can change it live, but I think you can change it post event. But you've found it anyway, so it doesn't really matter, does it? Does it? Oh, this is Cane Wrestling Live episode 1. There we go.
There you go. I'd see that shows how professional I am. Didn't even know.
Didn't even check.
I was just sat here going, it's only 5 minutes till we go live. Where's Magsy? I know how he feels every week now.
Oh, I mean, the shoe is on the other foot, sir. The shoe is on the other foot.
Indeed. Magsy, so then, I suppose, we've covered pretty much what we've done this week, haven't we? Oh, no, we haven't, because you didn't ask me how my week was, you selfish bastard.
Because I didn't really care. That's why. Nah. How was your week, sir?
I don't want to tell you, no bollocks.
No, I bet you've had an amazing week. I mean, you didn't even really ask me about what happened on my holiday.
I asked about your holiday. It's up to you then to develop what you want to discuss. Come on.
Okay.
Tell us what happened on the rest of your holiday. Did you burn yourself again?
No.
Oh, that's a shame.
But the burns did scab over and there will be scars, which is fun. But no, it was quite a relaxing holiday. But I did on the last day injure my neck.
Oh my God.
Which meant I was almost crippled for about 2 days, and then I got a cold again, so that's fun. Yeah. So
what is wrong with you? You're just a calamity at the moment.
But the good thing is though that after that holiday, I'm so beat up and knackered. I need another holiday, so I'll be having another one soon.
Dear me. I don't think you should go away. You're obviously at higher risk. Away from you.
That's why they won't let me fly. I'm at risk of burns.
Just running up and down the plane with like 4 or 5 cups of coffee, chucking it all over people.
No one else got burned. No one else was injured in this. It was just me. So it'd be me going down the aisle and people throwing their red hot coffee all over me.
Yeah. Sharon's asking a question there in the chat, Maxie. Why are we the wrong way around? We made a decision. Literally,
we did.
10
aesthetics. Aesthetics. In fact, I'll show you why. So we switched over like that, and can you see how I look like a potato that's halfway across, and then so does Sa? But if we switch them, we're pretty much central. And I get to be the lady potato.
Yeah, we're in line with our potatoes, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
We form a full spur.
You felt wrong being a feminine potato, didn't you? So you wanted to be masculine.
I'm
You wanted
comfortable
to be
with
the
my
Maris Harper of the potato world.
I'm comfortable with my masculinity that I'm okay pretending to
I
be
am
a lady
comfortable.
potato.
Jesus Christ, this is a wrestling podcast. We've not
is.
even touched wrestling yet.
No. I suppose we should, though, Magsy. I suppose we should. We should dive in and.
This has been fun. 10 minutes of talking absolute cod's wallop.
Well, isn't that normal way anyway? It doesn't matter when we try and talk wrestling, we talk
Pretty much.
nonsense.
I mean, wait till the end when we watch 10 minutes of a cod's wallop of a match, but
bollocks. Don't start with that. Oh, this is going to be an interesting chat, isn't it? I can see it now.
No, you're not going to be. I think we may not make it to 100 episodes.
No. Okay. All right. Well, we'll get to that bit.
The match was shit.
It was not. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Okay. We'll get to it. You're just, salty because your choice didn't win. You got spoilt in recent weeks winning all these polls, and now I finally win one, and you're like, I'm throwing the toys out the pram now. I got a little paddy.
It may well be that.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched Southpaw anyway. Just
did you
with a tear rolling down one eye. That bullseye. Look at what you could have won.
It's a speedboat, but I live in Birmingham.
Take it back, lads. You're going away with your £31 and a match from 1784.
It wasn't that old, bloody hell. We can't just keep covering all modern day shit, though.
Well,
yeah.
Let's hope my pick this week changes that.
Okay, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Speaking of picks, Magsy, we need to pick something to dispose of into the Chain Wrestling Hall of Fame to hopefully never be seen or spoken about again, my friend.
Let's do it.
The Hall of
Lame indeed. Magsy, what you got for us, mate?
Okay, so for my entry this week, I want to go to July of 1984.
Right.
And
I'm world class.
Yeah, I want to put the Badstreet match into the Hall of Fame. No, I don't really. If anybody who has ever listened to a podcast of mine will know that outside of wrestling, one of my other big passions is MMA. We used to do a weekly podcast, the 5 Rounds podcast, where we used to cover UFC. So naturally, when MMA and wrestling cross, it piques my interest. So, for instance, like currently we've got the likes of Matt Riddle. We've had like Ken Shamrock, Brock Lesnar has crossed over, Cain Velasquez, all that kind of stuff really piques my attention. Even the news recently that Daniel Cormier is going to be a referee at Extreme Rules. So the kind of recent influx of MMA stars into wrestling for me has been a win. But it wasn't always like this. When the WWF tried to go into more MMA based wrestling, it didn't always work. And one case in point was 1998. There was a tournament, reality based, called Brawl for All.
Oh dear.
So everybody who is a wrestling fan will know about the Brawl for All. So essentially it was an unscripted tournament to see who was the toughest wrestler in the company. Now, there is conflicting reports on why it was put in place. The main theme is that JR was angling to bring Dr. Death, Steve Williams, into the company. And he was told time and time again, we creative have nothing for him. We don't have anything to bring in for him. And apparently Vince Russo had pitched a tournament, but he hadn't pitched a tournament for Steve Williams. He'd actually pitched a tournament because he was getting sick and tired of Bradshaw going around the locker room saying that he was the toughest wrestler in the company, that if there was a pub brawl, he'd be the only one that stood out and won. So Vince put forward this tournament, and JR saw this as the perfect kind of a landing platform for Dr. Death, Steve Williams, to come into the company and then build to a WrestleMania match with Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was one of the hottest wrestlers at the time. A few issues with that is when something is live and unscripted, anything can go wrong. And in this tournament, everything went wrong. There was a very convoluted point system, which awarded points for knockdowns and takedowns, which could be exploited to win matches that perhaps you shouldn't have won. Tiger Ali Singh was apparently meant to be in the tournament and was talking a lot of shit in the locker room, saying that he's going to beat everyone up, but then chickened out. Ken Shamrock was asked to be in the tournament. He turned it down, saying that he felt it was unfair to the other fighters, even though he was offered way more than the prize money that was put up for the tournament. So we ended up with 16 mid-card wrestlers in the tournament. We had 2 Cold Scorpio, Dan the Beast 7, 8 Ball, Godfather, Mark Miro, Henry Godwin, Savio Vega, Brackus. I mean, wow, Brackus in there. Droz, Bob Holly, Quebecer Pierre, Steve motherfucking Blackman, Bradshaw, Hawk, Bart Gunn, and Dr. Death, Steve Williams. So let's go through some of the highlights. First round, Dan Seven actually quit the tournament after the first round. He beat Godfather on points. He claims it was because he had nothing to prove, and that it was unfair on the rest of the fighters. And also, he was very frustrated having to wear boxing gloves when his skill was in wrestling and in actual ultimate fighting. Mm-hmm. So after he resigned from the tournament, Godfather, who lost that fight, took his spot, which was a running theme in this. Whenever people couldn't take their spot, the person they just beat just got a bar to the next round, which is weird. Steve Blackman, he beat Mark Miro in the first round. Mark Miro, the Golden Gloves boxing 2-time champion. He was beat by being taken down time and time again. And according to Bob Holly in his book, Steve Blackman was actually really excited about this tournament because he wanted to go out and injure a lot of people. And if he would have been fit all the way through the tournament, he would have likely won this tournament because he was an absolute killing machine. But in training for the second round, he picked up an injury, which meant that the loser, Mark Miro, got a spot in the second round.
Right.
Brackus was absolutely destroyed by Savio Vega, got a broken nose. He also injured his knee and shoulder, which ended up leading to him retiring from the wrestling business altogether around a year later. Then we had Droz and Hawk, who fought to a draw. Droz, at one point in the third round, knocked Hawk's mouthguard out. As the ref went to pick it up, Hawk told the ref to throw it away. So Droz spat his own out to level the playing field. And this was the first time that the crowd were excited about this tournament, because all the way through it was shit on by the crowd. They wanted wrestling. They didn't want this absolute waste of time. Anyway, the Hawk got a broken nose in that match, which meant he couldn't wrestle, and that meant Droz went through automatically. Scorpio and 8 Ball, they also faced off. Their match wasn't even televised. You only saw about 20 seconds of that's which is clearly what they thought about Scorpio and 8 Ball. Then we get to Dr. Death Steve Williams. He faced Quebecer Pierre, and he won by referee stoppage, the first stoppage of the tournament. And good old JR absolutely creamed his pants on commentary, pretty much leaving a very sticky substance underneath that table. And a lot of rumors suggest that Steve was actually paid the tournament winner's prize after this match, because everybody, with how much JR was praising Steve Williams and saying that he would beat anybody in the locker room, he was clearly expected to be the winner. But this rubbed up the boys the wrong way, and a lot of people actually started to turn on Steve Williams because JR was hyping him up so much. So we get to the quarterfinals now. Steve Williams, the tournament favorite, he took on Bart Gunn. Bart in the first round had a quite a boring fight against Bob Holly, who was his tag team partner at the time. It was essentially just swinging your arms like windmills and hoping to hit it. He faced Steve Williams in the quarterfinals, and according to rumor and innuendo, the locker room was jam-packed, standing room only, because everybody wanted to see Steve Williams get knocked out because of JR bullying him up so much.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
2 rounds in, and it was pretty close. Steve Williams had done some good takedowns to score points, and Bart had hit some haymakers. But then in the third, Bart gets a takedown, which hurts Steve, and you can see that when he gets back to his feet, that he's very visibly limping. And then as he's walking back towards Bart catches him with a left hook that knocks him clean out cold. That's the first genuine KO of the tournament. It also dislocated his jaw, and as the doctors were running to ringside, the boys in the back were absolutely cheering. They absolutely loved it. So next we had Godfather against Scorpio. Scorpio was offered some whores to throw the match. And then Godfather won on points. So what a missed opportunity there for Scorpio.
Yeah, he's going to lose anyway. Might as well have got his hose.
Exactly. Droz beat Savio in another ball fest. And then we had Bradshaw and Mark Miro. Bradshaw obviously had been talking a lot of shit, saying he would beat everyone up. And he had a different technique in this fight, instead of like the windmilling that he did in his first round fight. He went for takedowns, knowing that Mark Miro was not skilled on the floor, but he was very skilled with the boxing gloves, which meant that that match went to a draw, and they had a sudden death 4th round, which when Bradshaw scored some more takedowns, he was able to eke a victory out. So then we get to the semi-finals, where the big hitters are. We had Bart Gunn taking on Godfather. Godfather actually, for the first 2 rounds, or for the majority of the fight, he had the better of Bart Gunn. But on very, very wobbly legs, Bart was able to land a massive right hook that put Godfather fast asleep, literally. Then in the other semi-final, we had Droz and Bradshaw fighting another windmilling, just throwing punches with no regard to defense or technique whatsoever. Bradshaw able to squeeze out another victory. So someone who said he would beat up everybody in the locker room is getting through by the skin of his teeth every single time. So gets to the final, and it's Bradshaw versus Bart, the two big hitters in this tournament. Bradshaw tries to swarm Bart very early, just wailing haymakers towards him, misses every single one, gets caught with a punch straight to the jaw that knocks him to the floor in less than 15 seconds. Gets back to his feet, Bart, left hook, right hook, JBL is knocked out. So Bart Gunn has destroyed the competition. What was his prize for winning this? Obviously, he wins the $75,000 and the $5,000 for each match. It was actually given a WrestleMania match against Butterbean, where he was knocked out in around 50 seconds. Now, this match wasn't actually even meant to be on the cards. This was actually, and according to Bart, he knew that it was coming. This was going to be a punishment for him essentially ruining the tournament that was meant to be Steve Williams' grand entrance into the WWF. Because as soon as he lost this match, he was fired from the company and he never wrestled for the WWF again. All in all, this tournament cost $350,000.
Oh, yeah, me.
So my entrant this week is the Brawl for All.
It is shockingly bad, isn't it? And it's fascinating as well. There's an episode on the Brawl for All that Bruce Pritchard did very early on with Conrad Thompson on his podcast, Something to Wrestle. Back when Bruce Pritchard's podcast wasn't just 30 seconds of chat and then an hour and a half of adverts. It was actually good in the early days. That's right. I'm throwing shade at Conrad Thompson. I don't fucking care. You don't listen to this shit. The Brawl for All episode is fascinating, listening to all the stuff that went wrong and so on. It was absolutely brilliant. But this is why pro wrestling is a work. This is exactly why, because you want something to happen for the benefit of the business. And we keep coming back to that term business because it is a business. It's all about making money. You can't set up a tournament like this with the aim of having somebody win it to go on and make money for the company. And I don't doubt for a second Dr. Death would have made money with Austin. I think it would have been fantastic. You can't set this up and then hope that it goes the way you want it to. Because as this showed perfectly, it's going to bottom out and completely shit the bed and go wrong. So it's lost them. And again, this comes back to the comment from, I can't remember who said it. I think it was CM Punk who said to McMahon on an episode of Monday Night Raw, "You're a millionaire, but you should be a billionaire." This is another example of that. Another example of him trying to do something. Granted, Russo played a big part in it. Jim Ross pushed Dr. Death a lot and so on. But it's that thing of McMahon's the guy in charge. He signs off on it all. It's another example of throwing money, trying to promote something that is not pro wrestling, and it ends up costing him money. And ultimately, just ends up being pretty shit.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the best viewpoints from this comes from Bob Holly's book. He has a hell of a lot to say about this tournament and the setup, and he says pretty much what you just said. If you want a certain result out of this, that's the whole point of wrestling. Gimmick the tournament so that the person who wins is the person who you want to win. Because if you give 16 wrestlers who are not the top of the card, not getting a lot of TV time, and you offer them $5,000 per performance and a $75,000 bonus if they win the whole tournament, and then tell them that it's winner take all, they're hungry. These guys want to make names for themselves, and so they're going to go out of their way to put on the best performance.
You got to think as well. You say there that some of these, sorry, Maggie, you say some of these matches were live on Monday Night Raw, and if you won the match, you got $5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now this was what, 1998. Okay. Only what, 4 years ago, they were earning $25 for appearing on Raw. And there's an opportunity for them 4.5 years later for $5,000. You know, it don't add up, does it? It don't add up.
No, exactly.
But a very worthy entrant into the Hall of Fame, my friend. Very worthy indeed.
I'm surprised it hasn't been in before.
Well, yeah, to be honest, when you brought it up, I was like, have we not done that? But you're right, we definitely haven't. We definitely haven't. Yeah. Well done, Bart Gunn, though. Fair play to the fella.
I mean, well done, and also commiserations for getting sacked for winning a tournament.
Yeah. for winning the tournament that you're told it's a shoot, go and win. You're then fired because actually they didn't want you to win it after all. Wrestling is daft. Mine is potentially the most recent Hall of Fame entrant we've ever had, Mags. I think there's a chance I could be wrong with that. I'm just going by memory, so obviously everyone knows how my memory functions. But there's a possibility it's the most recent Hall of Fame entrant we've ever had, and it's a mixed bag for me. I feel a bit bad mentioning this guy's name in association with this segment of our show. And no, it's not Barry Windham. Don't jump on it.
You have me smiling then.
I saw your little eyes light up there. You were like, oh, he's going to put old Bazza in. But no, I'm not. This involves potentially, well, in my opinion, one of the top two performers to ever do it. And that is the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Now, Ric Flair, back in mainly going into the early 80s and then through the 80s into the early 90s, in his 30s and his 40s and so on, he had this persona that fitted him very well. It's, the playboy, the nature boy. He's got the limos, the jets, all the women loved him. And, he everywhere he went, the women just couldn't resist him. Hence why Elizabeth turned and sided with him at one stage and all this sort of stuff. He just had this aura about him. That was his whole gimmick. Now, Dan Griffin in the chat there. So it could be the most recent. It was actually 1983. No. It's very recent. Very recent. However, this whole womanizing gimmick of Flair's, obviously it worked because he did it for so long. He's one of the best to ever perform. But that was back in the 80s. Well, 83, as Dan mentioned, going right through to the mid-90s. It did carry it on potentially a little bit too long because obviously he's getting a bit long in the tooth.
It was cringy.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But when it came to his proper, in my head, retirement at WrestleMania against Shawn Michaels, he was still playing the Nature Boy gimmick to a degree. And it was almost like a tribute act to his former self. So even though that was a bit cringe because he was already an old man, I kind of didn't mind that because it was like seeing Ric Flair go round the houses one more time. However, in January of 2021, Ric Flair started appearing on television on Monday Night Raw again. My wife in the chat here, Sharon, saying, "What? Colour me shocked you would ever admit a fault with that man." Honestly, Sharon, it pains me. It pains me.
I can see the tears.
It's so difficult.
Welling up in your eyes.
But at the same time, this is worthy of its place. Now, again, January 2021. So that's only a year and 9 months ago or something like that. So I think it must be fairly much the most recent we've had, I would assume. There was a storyline in WWE where Ric Flair's, shall we say, magnetism, for want of a better term, the spell of the Nature Boy caught up with Lacey Evans. And Lacey Evans started to flirt with Ric Flair. Ric Flair would flirt back. All part to do with her feud with Charlotte Flair. Now, this also affected a Royal Rumble. This also affected title matches that Charlotte would have. And the dynamic of Charlotte and Ric being on opposing sides of the ring was quite intriguing for a little while, to be fair. Because Ric Flair had worked her corner before. And it was an interesting dynamic because we hadn't really seen it before. But the fact that he was stood next to Lacey Evans, who was openly flirting and being disgusting with him, and then it kind of developed into hinting that there was, well, not even hinting, there was no subtlety about it. You're literally getting slapped in the face with the suggestion of it being a sexual relationship. Lacey Evans and 73-year-old Ric Flair. It was a case of this is horrific. This is cringe. This is really bad. And this is around the time when my youngest daughter, would still catch a little bit of WWE television. And I'd be sat there watching this with my daughter, who at the time was 11, trying to think, just sat there staring at the TV like this, thinking, don't ask a question. Don't ask a question. Let's just skirt over this. Don't ask about it. It was horrific. What got a little bit worse was the following month or so, 6 weeks later, maybe, Lacey Evans, in real life, became pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And the plan was, and it was hinted at on television before it was nixed in the bud quite early on, that Ric Flair was going to be the father of her baby on screen.
Ridiculous.
Lacey Evans went away to basically maternity leave, I suppose. She went away because she was pregnant. Obviously, you can't wrestle when you're pregnant. Of course you can't. And the plan was for this storyline to be resurrected upon her return with said child and so on. This was, again, we come back to it's a business. I don't see how anyone could think this would make money, but that was kind of the plan until Ric Flair got fed up with the situation once again and asked for his release in I think August, September time, and got given his release and disappeared from the company. So thankfully, that storyline never really took off with the child involved. But for those 6 weeks, maybe a bit longer, pushing 2 months at a stretch, the fact that one of my heroes was portraying a 73-year-old man who was leching over a much younger lady. And that lady was, quite happy to indulge the elderly gentleman.
Well, I don't know if she was happy to indulge. It was more, this is your job, get it done.
Well, I meant storyline-wise, Magsy, as opposed to... Yeah, that is my entrance into the Hall of Lame this week, my friend. Kiss stealing Ric Flair at 73, maybe.
And the kicker is that all that led to the abomination of Ric Flair's final match, because he got his release and ended up having this horrific last match. And then he said on Twitter he will never retire and he's planning another one. So
yeah. Oh dear, wrestling, eh? Isn't it glorious? But those are your entrants into this week's Chain Wrestling Hall of Lame. We have the ridiculous Brawl for All tournament that ended people's careers via injury or just by getting their papers and getting told to, we wish you luck in your future endeavors, I suppose. Or Ric Flair fathering Lacey Evans' baby.
Ridiculous.
There you go. Both disgusting for different reasons.
Why do we watch wrestling? Why do we watch wrestling?
We will come to why we watch wrestling when we talk about the Freebirds later, mate. Anyway. Oh, this is going to be such a good wrestling topic. I'll go.
Spoiler, I fucking hated it.
I can tell, mate. I can tell. And I'm going to tell you exactly why you're wrong. Anyway, Magsy, shall we have a quick run through the chat before we get on to this week's non-wrestling topic?
Yes, we shall. Dan Griffin has said he is shocked at the CWF picking the actual wrestling. I'm not so much shocked. I'm disappointed in you guys.
I love you all
for letting this happen. Tyler says he still blames Vince Russo. I mean, that should be the wrestling go-to. If something goes wrong, blame Vince Russo.
Chuck Winchester from...
Oh, that's Chuck, not Tyler. There's so many Facebook users, and we massively appreciate you tuning in from Facebook. But yeah,
yes.
Blame Vince
When you
Russo.
jump on Facebook, actually, when you jump on Facebook, it will give you the option of syncing with the StreamYard so that when you comment, your name will appear for Mags and I. Or if you don't want to do that, because it is an app that requires permissions to do that for you, if you're not comfortable with that, just literally enter your name onto your comment, just so we know who it is. Okay? But yeah, sorry, Magsy, carry on.
So Dan Griffin says it was Brackus's finest hour. Only hour, Dan. Only hour.
Well,
and he says Godfather beat Dan 7 on points as well, if I recall. Nope, that was incorrect. Sorry, Dan. It was actually Dan 7 that beat Godfather on points, and Godfather got the bar because 7. He was pissed off about the fans booing. He was pissed off about wearing gloves. He basically was sold this tournament was going to be in his wheelhouse, and it wasn't. So he was actually on the next episode of Raw in a suit and tie saying he was quitting the tournament and he had nothing to prove. So Godfather actually got the bar because of that. Foul Original, hello sir, how are you? Saying those speedboats won't fit in the canals of Birmingham. Well, be lucky that you didn't win a fitted kitchen that you had to share with your mate. That would have been even more fun. Steve Blackman beat the piss out of JBL in an airport instead. Good on him. Absolutely good on him. And again, referring back to the Bob Holly book, and he legitimately said that Steve was so excited for this tournament because there was like a team meeting to discuss the tournament and who would be in it. And one of the questions that Steve asked was, will I get disqualified if I take people's knees out? and he was
amazing,
deadly serious. He was an absolute killer. Dan says Brawl for All was still better than watching Jake Paul box. Jesus Christ. And King's Pig's Bladder said Jake Paul's a clown. Yeah, but that clown is making a stupid amount of money farting people who've never put boxing gloves on before. So the money's there for him. The Bart gun butterbean fart at WrestleMania 15 was a finger beauty. Poor Bart. There's in watching the Brawl for All and then watching that fart, he's cleaned out very, very quickly. Like literally, he ends up being slumped in the corner, his head hanging out the ropes. It's so brutal. Dan says Sai could be the most recent. It was actually 1983, and then Sharon saying it was a shock you would ever admit a fault with Ric Flair. Ric Flair has got a lot of faults.
Oh yeah, of course he has.
Cold light of day. Lacey just wanted to ride Space Mountain.
Woo!
And don't we all? By King Pig's Bladder. Jesus wept. I think Sharon maybe doesn't want to ride Space Mountain. Maybe she's more of a teacups kind of person. King's Bladder said it was a tough watch, the Lacey Evans segments. And Dan Griffin, it was even a tougher wank. Brilliant.
But notice he doesn't say impossible. He powered through.
Yeah, and it wasn't crafty. It was definitely not a crafty one. He said Flair had to do that last match. He's got a young'un to provide for. Yeah, so much alimony, so much. And now he's flogging a Viagra ripoff. Yeah. He's not, is he?
He is.
Jesus
and the caption is, as he stands there holding this little tablet or whatever, he's also selling his own brand of weed as well. I don't know if you've seen that. He's quite openly smoking weed everywhere, selling his own weed. But he's now, the catchphrase of this Viagra ripoff is, this is not your granddaddy's dick pills.
So he's even ripping off DDP with his this is not your mama's yoga.
Yeah.
What a tosser. Sharon, take my iPad up with you next time so you can see yourself.
Yeah, when it comes at Facebook user, Sharon messages me to tell me who that is because she's looking at the Facebook group for us, you see. But yeah.
See, look at that. Behind the scenes, Sharon is the glue that holds this show together.
Oh, always said so. Always said so.
Dan's saying, fair enough. I just remember Godfather going through. Yeah, he did go through. But yeah, he did get big. He put up a good fight. He caught Dan Severn with a few good shots, but Severn did use his grappling to good effect. Scottish Danny, I hope there's a Steve Blackman comeback one day. So I've been watching quite a bit of a channel called Wrestling Bios on YouTube, and they do a show called Reliving the War. So it's basically they go week to week and compare the Raws and the SmackDowns, the Raws and the Nitros, and they've got to the point where Steve Blackman has debuted, and this guy is an Irish guy. I don't know his name, but he absolutely adores Steve Blackman. And every time Steve Blackman comes on, he puts on like a caption and he does that, "You're as cold as ice." And that's where he calls him Steve motherfucking Blackman. So that's where I've nicked it from. And finally, Dan Griffin, Tank Abbott would have pissed the Brawl for All. He would have just taken the 75 grand and just walked off. Tank was blackballed. He was too violent.
Well, that's potentially what happened, yeah. Potentially, you know.
And he was in a different company, so there is that.
Well, there was that. There was that, yeah. Oh, dear me. Thank you again, everybody, for all the messages in the chat and stuff via Twitter and so on. And speaking of King Pig's Bladders, I believe it was them. They just put something out on Twitter, Magsy, that I've screenshotted and DM'd you that we can look at in a bit. I don't want you to sort of disrupt what you're doing behind the scenes. It's a lovely picture of you and me actually as potatoes. So we can maybe have a little look at that after our non-wrestling topic.
Maybe. Twitter avatar.
Oh, that's going to be our cover picture, mate. But shall we get to our non-wrestling topic, my friend?
Well, let's do it.
NWT time. Oh, no wrestling talk here. It's the non-wrestling topic.
Lovely.
Nice.
Lovely.
Nice.
Ooh, lovely.
Lovely.
Filthy belch.
So grim. So grim.
I might change it up and get some other sound effects. No, I can keep that one. That was great. Our non-wrestling topic this week is something very close to my heart, actually. It concerns music festivals and basically picking your own, I suppose, fantasy booking your own music festival. The criteria was sort of trying to keep it semi-realistic with the lineup order, in that we want a show opener, your festival opener, which obviously will be a smaller act, two kind of in the day bands who are obviously of a bit slightly bigger stature, your special guests, which are a big deal, and then of course your headliner, who must be of headline status. But that's kind of where keeping it realistic ends, because we said any genre, any music, dead or alive, doesn't even matter, Magsy, does it?
It absolutely doesn't. And I like the way you haven't stole this from the meme that goes around Twitter regularly, where you get, is it $10 and you get to pick your lineup, and there's like $1 bands, like your Iron Maiden.
Okay, I know the one you mean. I'll be honest with you. What do you mean $1 for Iron Maiden?
And your ACDCs.
You
Like your
fucking-
$2 bands like Scorpions, and
I will slap your little northern face if I ever see you.
and then your $5 bands like Bewitched and Spice Girls.
Oh man, I actually didn't steal it from that at all, but at the same time I can see what the similarities are, so maybe I sort of subconsciously got the idea
It's
from that.
creative licensing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll openly admit when I do steal something, don't bother me. But we will start very quickly with one on WhatsApp, Magsy, sent to us at 1 minute to 9, because Charlie asked me very last minute, what's the non-wrestling topic, Daddy? I've not answered it, so I had to send it to her. Charlie says here, and these are all people that I'm not massively familiar with, because it's a case of she's a completely different generation to I. Some YouTubers who make their own music as well. Charlie's festival would be a band called Lovejoy opening, which is a YouTuber called Wilbur Soot from Dream SMP, who is the YouTube kind of group that he's in. Another band called Cave Town, somebody else called Tubbo, who is also from Dream SMP YouTube group, and then Melanie Martinez, who some people may know, a singer that Charlie likes, and Imagine Dragons would be her headline act.
I know the headline. I have absolutely no idea of any of the others.
No, I do know. I think it's Wilbur Soot. Charlie, if you're still in the chat, let me know. There's a couple of times where Charlie's played me some of the music she likes, and I've been doing a few things downstairs. And there was one song in particular I did really like. I mean, it's not quite my cup of tea. But there was one song that was really good, and I think that was Wilbur Soot. If I can find out what it is, maybe I'll chuck a bit on the audio version somewhere. But yeah, it's not bad actually, mate. It's not bad, to be fair.
Okay,
but there we go. To Twitter then. To Twitter. We will start with, we'll run through in the order they came into us, because obviously Magsy loves it when I do that. And I don't know any other way of formatting this segment.
Charlie has said you have Tubbo's song on your like songs. On
okay.
On your Spotify.
Is that the one then, Charlie? Is it Tubbo's song? Is that the one I'm thinking of? So he would have been one of your mid-afternoon bands, wouldn't he? Yeah, okay. Thank you, Charlie. No worries. First in on Twitter was our good friend Morty, at MortyJR5. He says he would have the Junkyard Dog opening with Grab Them Cakes, which I think is only one song, isn't it? So what's he going to do? Play it once or just play it on
just over and over? He's going to fill his 20 minutes just playing that song over and over again.
Followed by Millwall Chris's favourite artist, Coco Beware, with this classic, and he included a YouTube link to a Coco Beware song. And then the Fabulous Rougeos playing their theme. And then his special guest would be Les Kellett, with the headliner being 3 Count from WCW. The festival name would be called Bang Bang Nightmare.
Brilliant.
I don't think I'd go to that.
If the tickets were free, I think you would.
Well, maybe 3 Count. Next up was our good buddy Tyler Peters, at Dustin Tyler 86 on Twitter, and also Facebook user on Facebook. He says
that popped me.
He says here, and this is one of the people I think that maybe is a bit optimistic with where some of their bands may play, but it's okay. Fuck it. I mean, we make rules up, break them. Who gives a shit? It's just it's fun to chat, Mags, isn't it? The show opener for Tyler would be the band Tesla. So sort of quite 80s American radio rock there. His bands for In the Day, one of them would be Dokken. Again, very 80s hair metal. They did the theme music to one of the Nightmare on Elm Street films, didn't they?
Okay. Yeah.
Warriors, I think it was. Scottish Dan, I know in the chat. And he says special guests would be Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden. So he's named 2 special guests there. I wonder if that would be at the same time or they take it in turns.
Yeah, just like a battle, rock battle.
Yeah. Just going back and forth. One band gets to play a song, next band gets to play a song. Stu comes out on top.
That'd actually be proper awesome.
That would. And Tyler's headliner would be a band I know that he's massively fond of, Judas Priest. I mean, for me, having seen some of these bands on the same festival bills and so on, Priest would go on before Sabbath and Maiden to me. But this is your fancy festival, mate. There you go. And Tyler says his festival would be called Music City Rock Fest. Yeah. Would you be tempted to that one, Mags?
You know, that sounds like it'd be wholesome fun.
Lots of big hair and hairspray and probably booze and all sorts, which is exactly what you want. Our good friend Tolly at Rain Counter on Twitter, he says, great question, tough question. The opener for him would be the Amazons. I don't know them, Mags. Do you know them?
No, I'm assuming they're a relatively new band.
Okay, well, that'd be why I don't know them then. I'm incredibly out of touch.
I have no idea. I've never heard of them at all.
Fair enough. In the day, he says he would have the Manics and Future Islands. I thought the Manics would be higher up for him because I know he actually loves them.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't just have the Manics like all the way through. But when you see his special guest and his headliners, you can understand why.
Yeah, stature, I guess, of where they play on the lineup. Because his special guest, filling the special guest slot for Tolly, is Brian Ferry. Are you a Brian Ferry fan, Mags?
Not really. I understand his influence in music, but yeah, it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, it's not really mine either, but again, quite a big name, isn't it? And his headliner would be the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Now, I've said on numerous occasions on this show, especially when we've done our I Don't Get It episode, the Chili's come into that category for me. I don't get it.
Early stuff, it's very hit and miss. The mid period, the scar tissue and the Can't Stop period, there's like Californication and stuff like that. Yeah, I was really into that. Some of the newer stuff, again, they've kind of lost me. But I do get it. I think they're a huge band. So
okay, fair enough. Dan Griffin at Dan Griffin 21 on Twitter. He took it as
seriously. Are we
seriously.
skipping Tolly's second?
I imagine I'm coming to that in a bit.
Okay.
In fact, what I've done is, mate, I've actually got Tolly twice here. So
That's
when I start talking about Tolly again in a few seconds' time, stop me because we've already covered his one. Dan Griffin, he says his show opener would be the 3-man band. Oh dear. In the day would this is a terrible combo. This is horrific. This is just music hell. In the day, he would have Van Hammer, followed by Gillian Hall.
Oh Jesus, wept.
Can you imagine if they combined it?
The way to get Gillian Hall off the stage would be to just have Boogeyman come and chew the mole off her face.
What? Oh dear. Can you imagine if they combined it? Because obviously Van Hammer was supposedly a guitarist, but he wasn't. But and
Gillian Hall was supposedly a singer.
Yeah, and perhaps Gillian Hall could provide the vocals for Van Hammer's album.
It would sound very 80s with the way she screamed. She'd fit in.
Yes. Dan's special guest would be the maestro. He was a magician, wasn't he? Oh no.
The fucking maestro.
Oh no, I remember the maestro.
Yeah, he was not good.
No, he was not. And his headliner would be another shout here for 3 count, but this time with Tank Abbott.
So
Tank just
4
standing
count.
there. Yeah, 4 count. Oh man.
Dan
no.
says no, the maestro was a pianist. A pianist.
A pianist. I was getting him confused with the magician.
Mole chewing is Gillian's set finale.
Oh my god. But what would happen? Would she then have to get it back and stick it on for her next show? Or is this literally a one and done deal?
Just Velcro on the back of the mole.
A Velcroed up mole. Amazing. Danny at Scottish Juggalo on Twitter. He says for his opener, Alien Ant Farm. Okay, that's a bit of a blast from the past, Mags, isn't it? I mean, I only really know maybe 2 songs from them, or one of them's a cover.
And yeah, I think I know 2 movies. I remember them having a song called
Oh
Movie.
yeah.
And then obviously they did Smooth Criminal.
Yeah, quite a good cover, that, wasn't it?
I think it's probably the best Smooth Criminal cover I've ever heard.
Okay. Have you heard many?
No, just that one.
Brilliant.
So ironically, it's also the worst.
Yeah, in a real kind of paradoxy, weird way. Yeah. Danny says in the day he would have Kurt Angle singing "I'm Just a Sexy Kurt." I'm imagining just on a loop over and over and over again.
Like Coco Beware and Junkyard Dog, just doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah. Special guest, he would have Limp Bizkit. Now, I've seen Limp Bizkit live a couple of times. They are fucking fantastic. So good.
Yeah, great pick.
And his headliner, he would have Prime 1988 Motorhead. Now, this started a bit of a conversation in my head and with Danny, but mainly in my head.
This got you angry.
Well, no, not angry. Not angry. I'm just curious, not curious. I'm just 88 Motorhead. Is that their prime? I mean, Ace of Spades and that era, some people refer to as being their prime. That lineup with Filthy Animal Taylor and Fast Eddie Clarke in the early 80s. But I really like the Motorhead lineup with Phil Campbell and so on from a bit later on, sort of 2004, 2005. I think that musically they were at their peak then. But again, Motorhead has so many lineup changes and so many different albums that, okay, primarily sounded the same. But it's there's so many there. I suppose you can always just, everyone will have their own peaks and troughs in their career, don't they?
Exactly. It's as with wrestling, music is incredibly subjective. You like what you like and you dislike what you dislike.
Yeah, that's right, mate. That's right.
Dan Griffin, I thought Phil Taylor's nickname was The Power.
Yeah, same guy. Yeah, he played drums for Motorhead. Rob at UTT Rob on Twitter, he says, "Not going to lie, the idea of camping, no access to showers, and shitting in a portaloo for a weekend is pretty much my idea of hell. My fantasy festival is a beer festival." Fair enough. Can't argue with that, mate.
He could have given us his 5 beers. His opener is like if he was on a beer sesh, what would be his opener? What would be his session beers? What would be his cheeky little tipple? And then his one for the road. But no, didn't want to play along. So
just popped on our Twitter to say, "Don't like festivals, fuck you guys."
Yeah.
Basically. But thanks for playing, Rob. We come back to Tolly here. I have... Let me have a look. I think I've just got the same one. Oh, no, I haven't. Nope,
there's not much of... Well, there is a bit of change. He's stuck with the same opener and managed as a day act.
Yes, so the opener would remain the Amazons, Tolly says here. Day acts would be the Manics, but they'd also have Ash with Charlotte Hafferly. Now,
she joined later. She joined fairly late into Ash's peak run.
Right. Okay. Special guest.
Great guitarist, but she wasn't the original Ash.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I only really know they had one album that was quite big in the 90s. I kind of know stuff from that, but I wouldn't know much more, I don't think.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you'll know the song "Burn Baby Burn," surely.
That rings a bell, yeah.
I'm definitely not singing it. My throat is like sandpaper. So
you're letting us down, Magsy. You're letting us down.
It's a perfect time for you to put in a musical interlude for the audio listeners of Ash Burn Baby Burn.
I will definitely 100% remember to do that. The special guest slot on Tolly's second shout here would be the Smiths. And he says they can't headline the set because they would fall out 2 songs in.
Yeah. Because Morrissey is a talented guy, but he's also a bit of a wanker.
Yeah, I get that impression. And headliner, Oasis. Yeah, fair enough. All standard. About that, mate. Love a bit of Oasis.
Yeah, absolutely standard.
All the way from Australia, Mr. Mangor here at Mangor_Chris tells us what he would do, what he would put on in his own native country in the outback. Plenty of room for people to stand around at the main stage there. He says the opener
very hard for the security to keep the kangaroos out.
Yeah, yeah. But imagine kangaroos in a mosh pit. Imagine a mosh pit full of kangaroos.
Jesus.
That would work, wouldn't it? You wouldn't want to be too close to the front if that was going on. I wonder if the kangaroos would like any of these bands. The opener for Chris Mangle is The Dead South. In the day, he would say Green Day and Nirvana.
I mean, I don't know the opener that he's got. I've never heard of the Dead South, but the rest of his lineup is banger, absolute banger.
It's quite diverse, and it's pretty much every band you would normally see as a headliner, I think.
Yeah, pretty much.
But there you go. He's got to fill that massive desert somehow. So he's got to, stack the bill. And his day acts would be, as I said, Green Day and Nirvana. His special guest would be Tupac. And his headline would be the original lineup of Queen. And he says it should come under budget, don't you think?
And then his name, Manglebury. That's
Mangle,
absolutely brilliant. Brilliant name.
Exactly. Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, Chris. Always awesome to hear from you, my friend. James at 80s and 90s Wrestling. He says the opener for his festival would be the Courtineers. Don't think I know them, Max.
The
Courtinas.
Yeah, they're a very hip Manchester band. Very, very popular now.
Okay.
Not my cup of tea. Kind of like a throwback to indie almost, but yeah, they're massively popular.
Okay. Maybe I'll check some of that out. I probably won't. In the day, James says he would have Menswear and Beastie Boys. Obviously, I know Beastie Boys. We spoke about them on the show in the past. Menswear, I don't think I'm familiar with them either.
So Menswear were very early indies, kind of like, I'd say probably 93, 94 maybe. Didn't have that many huge hits, but they were popular.
Okay. His special guest slot would go to Vince McMahon singing Stand Down.
Dancing like that.
Yeah. And that's the sort of set when you want, occasionally at festivals you have like guest musicians all come on stage and everything like that. Get members of all the other bands to come on and dance around behind him. That would be fantastic.
All walking onto the stage like that.
Yeah, especially when you see that his headliner is Slipknot. Imagine them all coming out dressed up in their masks and everything, dancing with Vince McMahon. That is
fired.
So far, that's the festival that gets my money, Mags. That one there, just to see Slipknot dancing to Vince McMahon. All about that, mate. All about that.
Brilliant. He tried to cheat, though, did James?
Did he?
He tried to throw in Spiral Carpets to have a 6-band lineup. And you told him no, he had to get rid of one. So he said, I can only add, I can't take away, and I'm chucking Black Grape onto the lineup too, you Nazi.
Yeah. Maybe a bit harsh calling me a Nazi, but I don't know what was up with me when he messaged in at that point. I was very much being a stickler for the rules for literally that 2-minute window, because the rest of the time I'm just like, yeah, whatever.
You give Tully 2 goals.
At
it, and yet poor James, you stuck to the rules. Very unfair. Very unfair.
I'm incredibly sorry, James. I am. You can have as many bands as you like, as long as we still get Vince McMahon with Slipknot as his backing dancers. Connor Knows Soccer at Connor Knows Footy on Twitter. He's got quite a stacked lineup as well, with a band as his opener that I don't think you would ever see open anywhere now. They're too big of a deal, obviously. But again, it'd be interesting to see Metallica open a festival. I know Sharon, my wife, would hate that, but I think it'd be quite interesting to see Metallica open a festival. Yeah.
It's very peaking early, though.
Yes, it is. It is. But then in the day, he has Trivium Park. Oh, he's got 3 here, Maxie. Trivium, Parkway Drive, and Autopsy.
But yet you didn't rake Connor over the coals for his cheating.
No, I should do. Connor, I can't be bothered.
Connor Fest is cancelled.
Because you got too many bands. Trivium, I like a bit of Trivium. I'm not a massive fan of Parkway Drive. I don't really know any Autopsy.
I don't know a lot of those bands or words.
But even though you're wearing a t-shirt that says, I know words.
I know. I need to put don't know words.
That'll be the next one, mate. When we get a new batch of t-shirts coming out to coincide with Chain Wrestling 100 in a few weeks' time. That's what I'll do. I'll change it to just say I don't know words by Max.
Yeah, with like one of those little arrows, like when you made a mistake and you don't want to rewrite
that's
it. Arrow and then don't.
Oh man, we're like merchandise machines. We're amazing. Connor's special guest would be Korn. Always great at a big outdoor festival, Korn.
Yep.
And another
freak on the leash. Not wrong with that.
Exactly, mate. And another shout for Slipknot to headline. Quite a few getting in there for Slipknot, isn't there?
A lot of very hard rocking people in the CWF here.
Yeah, definitely. We have a message here on Twitter from someone called Steve Weber at Steve Weber 64 on Twitter.
Hello, Steve.
Hello,
welcome
Steve.
Welcome to the crew.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever heard from you before, so this is awesome. Thank you so much for messaging in to the show. Oh, this is fantastic as well, by the way. Opener, Slade. Oh, yeah. I'd love to see Slade. But, with Noddy Holder and everything, I love Slade.
Yeah, because there was two versions of Slade, weren't there, after there was a split.
Well, Noddy Holder hasn't done anything for a long, long time. He's basically just retired. Slade is still touring, but I think it's only like the one guy from Slade now, and all the rest are different people.
The real Slade, is it they called or something like that?
I don't know. But they play like quite small venues around, and then come Christmas, they play slightly larger places because everyone wants to hear the Christmas record, I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they normally play something in Wolverhampton around that time. Oh, there's a bar in Slade called the Slade Rooms. It's named after them, so perhaps they play there.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that would make sense, wouldn't it? It would make sense.
It would. It would absolutely.
Our friend Steve continues. In the day, the band, and then Janis Joplin. Yeah, Janis Joplin. I'd have a bit of that. I'd watch
class.
That, mate. Yeah. Special guest, Zappa and the Mothers, the 1974 incarnation. Not heard a lot of Zappa, to be fair.
Yeah, same. It was a little bit before my time, a bit experimental for me, a bit too experimental.
Yeah. Okay. What a headliner though. Johnny Cash, but with Bob Dylan.
Oh,
I mean, I like a bit of Johnny Cash, mate.
I mean, Johnny Cash had a period where he was doing a lot of covers. So imagine him covering some Bob Dylan tracks. Oh.
With Bob Dylan there as well.
Yeah,
covering Johnny Cash tracks.
Covering Johnny Cash tracks, yeah, exactly.
The dueling thing again. One guy comes off and they're doing each other's songs.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Weber. That was fantastic. Thank you. Speaking of people called Steve, we have something here from Steve-O at Total Steve-O on Twitter. And yes, Magsy, I know I forgot to email you the bloody soundbite again. I am sorry.
I just give up asking.
Yeah. It's almost like literally when I stop recording, I forget everything I've done in the previous 2 hours. Isn't it?
I know that feeling, or I try to forget it.
Steve-O says here, great topic. Let's just go boring for the name. The Total Steve-O Fest, featuring my go-to bands. And Steve-O has a big list, so I'm assuming he wants us
totally cheated.
Yeah,
this is a 3-day festival.
Yeah, Steve-O's going for like a whole download of his own here. And his day acts would be Lorna Shore, Awake in Providence, Mental Cruelty, Unearth, Newfound Glory, and Funeral for a Friend. Now, I've heard of Funeral for a Friend. I think I know Newfound Glory.
Yeah, a couple of big hitters in that day acts. No openers, unfortunately.
I don't know if we're going to get to those, mate, because it's over a few pages on my screenshots. So we will find out
continues.
soon. Night acts, Falling in Reverse. Now, Falling in Reverse are a band that I kind of discovered via Steve-O's own podcast. And he was talking about music he was into and bands he likes at different times in his life. And I really enjoy these now. There's some really good stuff there. I mean, I can't name any songs because I literally just hit a playlist on shuffle when I'm on the bus. But what I hear, I love. And it's purely down to Steve-O bringing them to my attention. So I really appreciate that. Bowling for Soup and My Chemical Romance would also fill his night acts as well.
Yeah, Bowling for Soup is a way out there choice compared to the rest. It's like they were... Like one of these bands does not belong here.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, I saw Bowling for Soup at Download Festival, and they were playing middle of the afternoon, and it was gloriously sunny afternoon. It was lovely. And there was a lot of heavier bands on the same stage. So when they came on, it was almost like a bit of light relief, and everyone just had fun because they're a great fun band.
Yeah.
And it was really in that slot. It worked really well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I get that. I mean, the bassist is it the guy with the chubby guy with the bald head? He's looks like a laugh riot whenever I've seen him play. So
yeah, exactly. Steve-O continues. Kill Switch Engage, love a bit of Kill Switch. Avenged Sevenfold and System of a Down would be for
System of a Down. What a pick! I don't get it.
I've not some tracks, yes, and I will play those tracks over and over and over again. They will be part of playlists I put together and so on. But beyond this handful of records, I'm not massively into it. And I think I blame my kid brother for this, my younger brother. He was hugely into System of a Down. They were his band growing up. Because he was literally the right age when their first album hit, I guess. And he played it to death in my house to the point where I think I just got bloody sick of it.
Was the first album called Steal This Album? I'm sure that their first album was called Steal This Album.
I don't know if that was their first, but that's definitely one of them, isn't it?
Mm. And I think the biggest album they had was probably Toxicity.
Yeah. Was Toxicity earlier? I got no idea.
No, that was after that was after Steal This Album. Yeah, Toxicity is the one with like Chop Suey on. Basically the huge hits.
Yeah, that's the one that I remember.
And then they did the double release. I think it was Hypnotize and Mesmerize or something like that. 2 albums on the same day. Yeah, they're a great band.
Okay.
They're from Armenia as well.
So what does that make them better automatically then? Or
they're just very like Armenia's biggest export, I think, outside of Andre Agassi.
Andre Agassi's from Armenia? No, he's not.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah, I remember.
I thought he was just from the States.
He like played tennis under the American flag, but I'm sure he's from Armenia.
Oh, okay.
Or he's
looking it up now, aren't you?
Yeah. No, he was born in America, but he has got Armenian parents. So.
Right, okay. What else can you get from people in the chat? CWF, let us know. What else is Armenia known for, apart from System of a Down and Andre Agassi's parents? Because I'm intrigued now. What else comes out of Armenia? Because I can't think of anything.
I'm going to Google that.
Okay, whilst you do that, I will continue with Steve-O's choices here. He says, when all is said and done, Slipknot are announced as special guests to close. Whatever I may think, they are a phenomenal band, staying strong over the past 25 years. And on a side note, Slipknot's latest album is a very easy listening, almost Beatles-esque. Genuinely recommend to check it out. So, Slipknot, again, my brother played them so much when I was younger. Sorry, when he was younger. Well, I'd have been younger too, wouldn't I? That's how aging works. But that's the earlier albums, okay, bit hit and miss. Then they went for a spell of kind of, I don't want to say softening up, but they kind of changed a bit. That middle era Slipknot I quite enjoyed up to present day. The new album I've not heard yet, but Steve-O says check it out. I count Steve-O's opinion very highly when it comes to music. I will check it out.
Sharon in the chat corrected me, saying that Steal This Album was actually after Toxicity, so apologies. And
okay.
King's Pigs Bladder says Armenia is famous for Armenians.
Of course.
I have Googled it, and yeah, there's not much about Armenia that stands out, to be fair. No, unfortunately.
Okay.
Sorry, Armenia.
There must be something.
It's like, that it used to be part of the Russian Empire.
Is that it? So it's famous for System of a Down and once upon a time being
the Wikipedia page is very, very small.
Like the country.
But yeah, it is also incredibly small.
Yeah. So basically Armenia is just famous for System of a Down and once upon a time being the armpit of Russia or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
Come on, Armenia. Come on, you wanted independence.
You're letting the side down.
Pull your finger out and do some. Invent some fancy cheese or something. Let's have something from you. Crying out loud. GH on Twitter here at Carry the Gary. He asked, "What does in the day mean?" So we have to sort of go through what I meant by that because I didn't really make that very clear. I think.
Yeah, because it could be construed that you meant like a band from back in the day. suppose.
Yeah, but this is the issue with Twitter, mate. You've only got so many letters, and that really pisses me off.
I mean, you would not have coped in Twitter 3 or 4 years ago when you got half the amount of letters that you had now.
No, I used to struggle like shit with that. I'm not gonna lie. Carry the Gary on Twitter. He says he'll give it a try. Opener would be Swerve Driver. Not a band I'm familiar with, mate.
Yep, same. I don't know
Oh,
anything about
okay.
Swerve Driver.
In the Day, Bad Religion, and Alice in Chains. Oh yeah, I'm all about that. Love Alice in Chains.
Cool.
No, nothing. No, okay, brilliant. His special guests would be Nirvana, and his headliner he would have Therapy. Now, Therapy are a band that I think when you're pulling it in the order of where certain bands would play, potentially wouldn't hit the headline slot above a Nirvana or someone like that. But I go along with Gary here. I bloody love Therapy, especially the Trouble-Gum
Yeah,
album.
I think he's
amazing.
I think he's mentioned Therapy before when we've had a music topic.
Yeah, so good. That album's amazing. So
Yeah.
good. Cam at Cam Griff 92 on Twitter. He says here, and this opener is great, Magsy. This opener is great. He says for his festival opener, the cast of School of Rock, inclusive of one Mr. Jack Black. Brilliant.
Yes. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is fantastic.
In the end of time, there was a man who knew the way.
Go on, keep
And
going.
what a beam of light. And you think you'll be just fine. I've watched School of Rock, can you tell?
That's it. End the stream. And ain't getting no better than that. We've peaked
Think
this
you
week.
can kick me out of the band, but you're not hardcore. Well, you're not hardcore unless you live hardcore. But the legend of the Rent was way hardcore.
I remember that now, actually.
That's just, what is he singing? Oh yeah,
For a
he
long
did sing.
time, yeah. For a long time, I was thinking, what is he on about? But I just thought I'd let you go, mate, to be fair. It was beautiful. Thanks for that.
I've re-injured my throat again.
You've gone from me naming Alice in Chains to giving me complete fucking audio silence for about 15 seconds to then reciting half of a bloody song for another band. So yeah, if you'd like to some way meet us in the middle with the rest of this segment of the show, I think that'll work quite well.
I'll try.
In the Day bands for Cam, he would have Sum 41 and Bloodhound Gang. Have some good fun with them, wouldn't you? I think.
Yeah, to what kind of like comedy rock bands, I would have said.
Yeah. Special guest is very comedy based. Weird Al Yankovic. Bloody hell.
Great call. Well, absolutely great call.
I mean, he must be getting on a bit now.
Yeah. He's still releasing music pretty regular.
Okay, fair play to the guy. And you never hear anything bad about him, do you? Been around for so long, and you never hear a story about him being a nonce or something. Yeah. I love the way that's
weird,
both of us.
If you name yourself a Weird Al Yankovic, you're not going to be able to get away with a bit of pedoing.
No, probably not. Yeah, I see what you mean. His headliner would be the Arctic Monkeys. That's fair enough.
Another great shout.
Yeah, decent shot, yeah. We have one more here on Twitter, and then my wife has said that she has messaged me with hers, so I'll have to jump back to WhatsApp for that one, Magsy. But Matt Butler at Trey Butler on Twitter. I think this is another first-time message into the show, potentially.
Welcome to the family, Matt.
Yeah, great stuff. Thank you so much for joining us. Show opener, Honky Tonk Man and the Honkettes.
Brilliant.
He would also have 3LC. I'm not familiar with that. What's that?
3LC. That I don't know that one.
Looking at the rest of them, I'm assuming it's a wrestling reference of some description.
It could be. I mean, it's unless he meant 3 count or 3-man band. I don't know. But
Yeah,
Matt, let us know who 3LC was.
Yeah, let us know, mate. I'm intrigued. The DX band as well, which would be curious. I imagine it would just be the same song over and over and over.
Dan Griffin in the chat.
3 Live Crew.
So a bit of wrong killings.
See, that's a great show as well, isn't it? And Double J and the Road Dog would also see. I'd be about that because that song that they did, "Baby Tonight," wasn't it? It was called.
Spend my nights working hard on the goal.
go. Fantastic.
Poor Road Dog, he's doing two spots because he's part of Three Live Crew as well with Ron Killings.
Double duty, mate. Corey Taylor does it on some festivals. You know,
and Dan said actually it should have been 3 LK because it's Three Live Crew. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I still wouldn't have got it, but You Shooting with My Baby Tonight Festival would be the name. That's great. I love that.
Great pick.
Thank you so much, sir. That is awesome.
And thank you for playing the game as well with the wrestling-based bands and music.
Yes, exactly. Sharon via WhatsApp, she says here, the opener would be the Backstreet Boys, just to get the crowd dancing. Okay. This would be followed by Jared Leto acoustic set. Then Take That with 30 Seconds to Mars closing the show. It would be called Sharon's Happy Place.
I was literally going to say, I bet 30 Seconds to Mars as the headliners.
No, Take That though, mate. Take That would be headliner. Oh no, 30 Seconds to Mars closing. You're right. Yeah, I literally just read that out. Why didn't I remember that?
Because you are an idiot.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. She also sent me a glorious picture there. I don't know if anyone can make it out if I hold it up to the camera. I will retweet it, of a kangaroo mosh pit, if I can get that to work. There we go.
That's awesome.
That's great.
And very patriotic kangaroo there in the background as well.
Yeah, works brilliantly on the audio version, obviously. Magsy, what about yourself, my friend?
Yeah, I had a little go at this. So I've gone with calling my festival Mags in the Park.
Nice.
I would have an opener of Damon Albarn.
Okay.
Day acts would be Rocket Juice and the Moon, and The Good, the Bad, and the Queen.
The what?
The Rocket Juice and the Moon.
Okay.
And then The Good, the Bad, and the Queen.
I don't think I know them at all.
Okay, well, we'll just skirt past that.
Okay.
Special guests would be Gorillaz, and the headliner would be Blur. So these are all Damon Albarn bands.
Okay. Okay. See, I didn't pick up on that. I knew Gorillaz was Damon Albarn's band.
Yeah,
And
well, the Good, the Bad, and Queen and Rocky Juicer is kind of like very part-time gigs. But that was only a mess about. I actually did a proper one, which I've called Magstonbury.
Nice.
Now, for my opener, I thought you need a band with a lot of radio friendly songs that you can kind of like get the crowd singing along and like just start the show as you mean to go on. So I've gone with Kaiser Chiefs,
right?
Because we've got a lot of very catchy radio friendly tracks. Then I've gone with Shed 7, again similar because they've had a lot of big hits. Then I've gone for Radiohead. I had to strong arm them in somewhere because they're just such an innovative, talented band. It's just unreal. Special guests, I went with the Chili Peppers, kind of like my Welsh Brevlin, Mr. Tolle. And then headliner, again, like Tolle, Oasis. I mean, there isn't a bigger band in my musical sphere than Oasis. So yeah, that would be my festival.
Oh, see, and that would get my money. I mean, mainly for Oasis, I'm not gonna lie, but the other bands would be a big bonus for me. Even though I'm not massively into the Chili's or whatever, I imagine live I'd enjoy it. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, get my money, mate. Get my money.
I'll send you the 200 quid invoice then.
Yeah, great. My festival is very old school classic rock based, as everyone could imagine.
No, I don't believe that. I thought you would have gone with like K-pop
Yeah,
or
well,
opera?
it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that. Pavarotti is no. It's entitled SJP Rock Rager, and the list goes like this. I would have something a bit modern, actually, Maxie. Something a bit modern opening. I'd have those damn
Barry
Crows.
Windham.
Barry Windham, yeah, Barry Windham just singing the West Texas.
Rednecks. Rap is crap.
Yeah, that would be what would play on the audio system every time the bands were changing over. Just that song on loop.
Brilliant.
No, the opening band would be those damn Crows because they were just freaking superb when I saw them at Stone Dead, and I can't wait to see them live again. They were that good. I have tried to kind of keep it in the sort of stature base, I suppose, when I'm naming bands in the positions they're in. So you'll be surprised to know that there is no Iron Maiden because I just couldn't fit them in. But there is Saxon. Yeah, I know.
You couldn't fit in Iron Maiden in a fantasy,
yeah,
fantasy festival where money no object. I realistically can't fit these in.
Where would I put Iron Maiden? The only place Iron Maiden would realistically play in any festival in the world is to headline, and they're not going to headline because I got somebody else headlining, so I can't get them
in. This was a fantasy, by the way.
Yeah, but there were rules to it. Okay, fine. Right, those damn Crows to open. Saxon would be next because they're a great festival band, play some great old school 80s metal. And then Wasp also in the day because I just bloody love Wasp. My special guest slot would be Motorhead because the opportunity to see them again perform, for a good hour and a half would just be incredible for me. And my headline act, just edging out Iron Maiden, would be AC/DC, purely because every time I've seen DC, they blow my mind for every minute of the show. Iron Maiden, I've really enjoyed them, but there were some shows that weren't quite as good as others, even though I have enjoyed them. So DC kind of step in. But now you're saying I can do what I pretty much want. I'd have a 2-day festival. Hardcore Superstar would open. I finally get the chance to see Poison play live because I've never seen that. I chuck Ace of Base in there as a special guest, and Iron Maiden will headline. So
that's more out there than Bowling for Soup.
Yeah, and Shakin' Stevens will probably get a slot on the show as well.
I mean, standard.
He's touring in December, Maxie.
I'm sure the tickets are still available.
Status Quo are touring, and for some reason, Shakin' Stevens is the support act.
Available at your local working men's club throughout the month of December.
Yeah, there you go. Shall we have a quick scan through the chat once more, Magsy, and then talk a little bit of wrestling?
Yes, we shall. So we have Connor doing a little bit of singing here. Massively appreciate that, Connor. We had Dan Griffin, Scottish Danny saying mosh pit with kangaroos, that's money. And then King's Pig's Bladder saying only if the kangaroos wore boxing gloves, which on your picture they did have boxing gloves. So
they did.
Great man's think of that. King's Pig's Bladder is clearly Armenian, very upset on our affront to Armenian culture. Said that Armenia was actually the first country to officially adopt Christianity. So there you go. That's what they're famous for. And Weird Al is one of his favourites. He absolutely loves that man. Dan Griffith says the kids who were in School of Rock will all be about 30-year-olds now. Fuck you, Dan Griffin. You absolutely. That is a dick move. Jesus Christ. I mean, when that film came out, I didn't have any grey in my beard whatsoever.
What year was that? Like 2000 early 2000s, wasn't it?
Yeah. That's disgusting. King's Pig's Bladder again saying they reunited a couple of years ago for a gig. That would have been awesome. I know that they're at the West End. They have a School of Rock kind of a theatre show, but I've not seen it. I don't think it'd be right to see that without Jack Black in it. Anyway, Dan Griffin says Weird Al Yankovic chose that name because it sounds a little bit like I'll yank your dick, because it would be too on the nose if he was a nonce. And King Plingsbad is saying that there's actually a film of his life being made. So that'll be awesome. Dan Griffin saying I should have called my my first festival All Barn One. I mean, I didn't think of it because I was literally doing it in the 10 minutes before we started recording. So cheers for that.
Brilliant.
Sharon says, my festival sounds like her worst nightmare. And then she was going to lambaste you for not having any poison on your festival until you come up with your 2-day, which pleased Sharon, I think. Charla has had enough of these horrific lineups and she's hopping off. And Sharon says she clearly doesn't want to hear you talk about that terrible wrestling. And Charla saying, don't expose her to your mum. So yeah, that's the chat caught up with now. And now for the worst part of the show.
It's not though.
Well, I hate this bit because of the match you made me watch.
Come on then, play the little thing. Let's get into it.
Let's get ready to rumble!
So I'm a little concerned, mate, that you're gonna burst my bubble now, because I was so happy this afternoon seeing that this had won the poll, and we get to talk about some proper old school wrestling. Because we talk about loads of modern wrestling, we talk about loads of different types of wrestling and so on. And I thought it's going to be great actually being able to dive into a bit of history and talk about the old territory days and stuff like that. And I was you asked Sharon, I was genuinely excited, and I spent all afternoon watching stuff back and all sorts of shit. And you're now going to come along and just burst my bubble, aren't you?
I'll try and be as positive as I can be. No promises, but I'll try and be positive.
Okay, interesting. I think we're going to differ quite highly on this, quite dramatically, with our ratings and so on, just by the expression on your face right now. But let's get into it. The winner of this week's poll, quite narrowly to be fair, was the 3 versus 3 Badstreet match was the name of it. Basically, anything goes street fight between the Von Erich brothers and the Fabulous Freebirds from World Class Championship Wrestling in Texas. The match actually happened on the 4th of July, 1984, but it was broadcast on World Class Television on the 28th of July was the link you sent me, Magsy, wasn't it, to the show there?
So yeah, for context, Sa was crowing this morning that he'd won a poll, and he WhatsApped me the link to a video that was genuinely recorded on a potato. It reminded me of footage from the Blair Witch Project, in that it was shaky, it was pixelated, and I was watching it on a 4K TV, and it was like watching a Pablo Picasso painting, just color everywhere, but absolutely nonsensical. So I was genuinely tempted to not watch the match at all and say, you're on your own on this one, sir.
Amazing.
But I thought there must be a better link to this on the network, because I know they've added WCCW on there. Finding this match was a fucking pain in the arse, because of the way they recorded shows, and then they would only show half of the matches on one show, and then they would have an encore on a show weeks down the line saying, oh yeah, this happened like a month ago. It was such an awkward way to find this match, because I wasn't going to sit through watching it like a child had coloured out of the lines. So I had to go through 1984, click on almost every single link of WCCW on the network, read the description, check the matches to find it. And I was getting to the end of my tether when I clicked on the 28th of July one, and it was there. So, yeah, fate made me watch this fucking horrific match. So I started quite happy and positive about it, clearly, because it made me waste hours and hours of my time to find the fucker.
Okay. Now we're getting to the bottom of it. Now we're getting to the bottom of it.
No. It goes downhill from here.
It doesn't. It doesn't though. This is exactly what it needed to be. You know, Dan Griffin in the chat there. What's he said there?
Max sounds like he'd rather received a video of Sar taking a shit from the pan's point of view than watch this match. I would rather be front row for Sar taking a shit than watch this match ever again. And this is why we love the chain, the pure dedication.
I can't believe you, because this to me is the way this match should be done. It's a street fight. It's a brawl, and
Yeah,
that's exactly what this was.
Do you know what was fun? Going through all them months and months worth of episodes of WCCW to find so many different iterations of the Von Erichs versus the Freebirds. I mean, they must have been on every single show for about 18 months, which is fun.
Shall we start at the beginning, Magsy?
No, we shan't. Let's get to this match, get it done, and then we can pick next week's topic.
Now, I think we need to understand a little bit about the history of the Freebirds and the Von Erichs.
Well, I'm going to go and take a shit.
With a camera in the pan.
Yeah. Take the webcam with me.
In, I think it was October of 1982, the Freebirds arrived in World Class in Texas.
So it was 2 years nearly.
Yeah. They arrived effectively they arrived and got cheered because they were charismatic, especially Michael Hayes, very charismatic, and he was the women all liked Michael Hayes back in the day as well, before he sort of put on the extra timber as we went into the 90s.
I think he danced like a cunt, to be fair.
Oh my god. You're probably not wrong, but there we go. The Freebirds were cheered initially. They were loved by World Class fans in Texas, and these fans in Texas were hugely passionate as well.
And old, and incredibly old. Because
there was
the front rows were. It was like the local care home had gone on an outing. It was just very old people with incredibly thick glasses. Yeah,
yes, and lots of the Von Erich boys were like the pin-ups in Texas. The young girls adored them as well. So the crowd was very much full of lots of young girls as well who just loved the Von Erichs. Now, when the Freebirds arrived, they sided with the Von Erichs for a long time, and they would assist the Von Erichs in winning championships. And I mean, there's lots and lots of championships around this time. World Class had its own titles. You also had other territory titles that would sometimes come into the Texas territory. And you also obviously had the NWA championships, which would be defended around the different territories. And World Class was one of the bigger ones at this time. Now, by December of 82, we had Kerry Von Erich, who went on to obviously be Texas Tornado, challenging the NWA world champion at that point, Ric Flair. The Horsemen, well, not the Horsemen, but people would be involved to help Flair escape with a championship. Other people would interfere in matches. Flair would sometimes just take the belt and leave. So Von Erich would, win via count-out, but as we all know, doesn't win the championship via count-out. So Christmas Day, 1982, it was decided we're going to have a steel cage match. Ric Flair's exhausted all of his, I suppose, get out of jail free cards, all of his heel tactics to cheat his way out with his championship. So it's going to be put in a steel cage. And as well as the referee in the ring, we're also going to have Michael Hayes, good friend of the Von Erichs, in the ring as well, to act as an additional referee, because there were occasions when Flair would knock the referee out to get disqualified. So we'd have Hayes there as an additional official. And also Terry Gordy from the Freebirds would be on the outside to stop any outside interference. Christmas Day at the Sportatorium in Texas, Von Erich versus Flair. It was seen as being potentially the biggest main event this territory had seen. There was over 20,000 people in the arena on Christmas night, Maxie. That's insane, isn't it? And it's finally being seen as the time when Kerry Von Erich was going to be crowned the world champion, the hometown boy. Now, things didn't quite go according to plan. We ended up with Michael Hayes having a bit of a pushing match with Von Erich. Eventually, Hayes floored Ric Flair and tried to get Von Erich to cover Flair to win the title. And half the crowd wanted Von Erich to do this as well, by the way. However, Von Erich, being the ultimate babyface, didn't want to take advantage of Hayes effectively helping him out, giving him a shortcut. We had the falling out. And then as Kerry Von Erich leant through the ropes through the cage door to try and speak to Hayes when he stormed out, Bam Bam Gordy smashed him in the mush with the door of the cage, solidifying the heel turn of the Fabulous Freebirds. That then ran from late 82 right the way through to 84. And then they tried it again in 86. And the heat that these two teams drew for over 2 years was insane. And the money they drew to this territory and the TV ratings as well. There was times in 1984 when we're looking at when the feud was kind of coming to its peak. There were times in 1984 when the world-class Texas TV show was actually getting higher TV ratings than the WWF's own programming in places like New York, despite being a Texas TV show. It's incredible how much the fans loved the Von Erichs and by proxy despised the Freebirds. And we had so many different people involved. People would side with the Freebirds, people would side with the Von Erichs, but it always boiled back down to the three from Georgia against the three from Texas, battling it out, the southern states not liking each other, and just the good old boys of Texas versus these three imposters coming in. And they were, Hayes especially was so good at getting heel heat. It was nuclear white heat whenever they get to the point in a feud when they would square off in a big match. And that brings us to this contest. The world-class 6-man tag titles are held up. This is 3 versus 3, 6-man match. At the time, I think you didn't get belts. It was actually a trophy you held as the 6-man. It was changed to belts, I think, in maybe 85. I think they changed the championship title belts as opposed to having a big trophy. But that's kind of the background. 2 years build going into another Freebirds Von Erich match. And you can tell by the crowd that they are rabid and desperate to see the Freebirds get their asses kicked here, I think, Mugsy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think the commentary said there was 15,000 people in the arena. And, yeah, it was a very partisan crowd. Very much wanted the Von Erichs to win. Yeah,
without a doubt. The Freebirds come out first. Obviously, they're the heels. And they come out to Badstreet USA, which is, to me, one of the best wrestling entrance themes going, because it is just so obnoxious that they're singing their own theme, and it's the way it is. Also, again, historically, how important the Freebirds are. The first act in wrestling to come out to rock and roll music as an entrance theme. Others had come out to music previously, but nobody had incorporated any form of rock music into their entrance theme before the Freebirds did it. So, again, this is coming up to rock and wrestling and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, on one of the episodes leading into this, the episode that this was shown on, it was actually the debut of their music video for Badstreet. Oh,
yeah, that's worth checking out as well, just for the comedy. Really, it's funny. It's funny because it's bad.
Don't check it out.
Michael Hayes here is just so obnoxious, so up his own backside, strutting and flicking his hair, and they're all coming out wearing jeans and a Freebirds t-shirt,
and matching t-shirts.
Yeah, which I enjoyed because they're a team, and it's going to be a street fight. It's going to be a brawl. It's not a wrestling contest. And the crowd, they despise them, and they're getting shit thrown at them and all sorts. And the crowd at this stage are already white hot. And then the ZZ Top track that plays the Von Erichs to the ring starts, and the crowd pop like mad. They are massively, the screams are intense just for those opening couple of bars from ZZ Top playing them down to the ring. And then obviously they make their entrance. We don't see that on camera, but you can tell when it is because there's another pop. It's huge, and the enthusiasm for the Von Erichs here cannot be understated. This is prime Hulkamania, but in Texas for this one particular family. They're so invested in the Von Erichs, Mags, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, and you even with not seeing the entrances on the video on the network, you can see just how loved the Von Erichs are, especially Kerry. I think he's the one who comes down in just jeans because the rest of the team are jeans and t-shirt, and this crowd are absolutely fawning all over Kerry and the rest of the Von Erichs. But then as soon as they hit the ring, the referee and the ring announcer have to make a swift exit because it's fucking on. They are
Yeah.
they are just bang at it straight away.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's quite funny as well because the ring announcer tries to make the announcements as the match has already started.
Yeah, the match has already started, and he's trying to like tell everyone the rules, and it's already gone off script straight away.
And again, this is why I like this, because it's not a street fight, and then we're seeing backflips or we're seeing all that sort of stuff that we see now. This is two groups who have despised each other for 2 years or a year and a half at this point, sorry. And it's a fight. And that's exactly what it is. It's a fight. It's not a wrestling contest. It's a fight. And that's what happens right from the off. It's just a mad brawl straight from the beginning. And it just doesn't slow down for 10 minutes, Max, does it? It's the same pace the whole way through for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a relatively short match, but there is so much action in this match, and it's very little actual wrestling. This is like two gangs of lads have teamed up to just beat the living piss out of each other. I mean, it starts with people taking their belts off and taking their cowboy boots off and legitimately just beating the shit out of each other with them. And what I did like about it was with modern day wrestling, when you get to street fights, there is always an element of it being scripted, things being put in a certain place for a certain spot. And I get that. This had none of that. It just felt like go in and have a street fight. Okay, then they just beat the living piss out of each other for 10 straight minutes. And you can tell that there was no kind of pre-planning, because there's a lot of spots that you would, in a normal match, you would say more like botches, where people don't quite know how they're meant to be reacting, or people attacking from each other from behind. It's very much like a vicious version of a Royal Rumble, where it's a lot of punch, kicks, elbows, that kind of thing, but with boots and leather belts.
Yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned the whipping and so on early on. It's Buddy Roberts from the Freebirds somehow ends up in the ring with at least two of the Von Erichs, maybe all of them, and they all just
the clothesline spot with the belt right across the throat.
Yeah, and then they just beat the piss out of him whilst he's on the floor with these belts, just whip the crap out of him. Kerry Von Erich is throwing punches that can be described just, I suppose the least you can describe them as is quite stiff. He is walloping Terry Gordy at one stage. He is proper drilling this guy in the head. It's absolute chaos, absolute pandemonium. But again, to me, this is how a street fight should be done. It shouldn't be about moonsaults and wrestling holds and all this sort of stuff. It's two gangs. I mean, the Freebirds were a gang. That was the whole point. It's two gangs that hate each other, wanting to kill each other. And it's the way the Von Erichs run to the ring, don't wait for the introductions, and it all kicks off, and it's just bedlam all around, and it's a fight. And that to me is why it's so good at what it does at this point in their feud.
Yeah, and we've mentioned this this on the show multiple times. Matches like this, like genuine blood feuds or blow off matches, they shouldn't go to a set script, because these people should be wanting to beat the living shit out of each other. And this is exactly what we got with this match. Just violence, absolute violence, where people were just whooping the living piss out of each other. There is still some good spots in the match. I mean, you are talking about 6 incredibly talented wrestlers at the end of the day. There's a triple drop kick spot, which I thought was pretty cool. I think Terry Gordy takes that.
It didn't look out of place though, Magsy. That's the thing for me. As wild as this brawl was, the guy went into the ropes, come back, and you're expecting him to get punched, and all of a sudden these drop kicks came out of nowhere. And even though it was a triple drop kick, in theory shouldn't fit with everything else they've done, it still didn't look quite out of place for me. And the crowd, again, huge reaction for that.
Yeah. And we get a bit of blading as well. I think Kevin, Michael Hayes, he clearly blades. You can see where he's tossed to the ringside, and then to outdo him, Kevin Von Erich, you literally see the blade on the floor right next to him as he then suddenly starts pouring blood all over his face. But this is a match that it needed that blood because it was an angry, hateful feud between the two groups. So I wasn't particularly bothered about the blading because I felt it did need it.
Yes. Now I watched it on the network, but I also watched it on the YouTube link as well because I think that
Jesus,
the network version is clearer. Obviously, it's been tidied up and it's filmed better and so on. But you don't get the introductions, and I think the introductions and the music. I mean, they're not going to pay to have ZZ Top on the bloody network, are they? Let's be honest. But when you watch the YouTube link that's attached on our Twitter, and you see how wild the crowd is for the Von Erichs when their music hits and so on, I think it kind of adds to the mood of it just kicking off and starting the way it did. You mentioned the boots as well. Some of those shots with the boots. I mean, there's one, I think it's where Gordy goes into the ropes, comes back, and Kerry hits him with it. And you see the guy's face wobble where he's caught him with this boot.
Yeah, and I think that's the spot where Kerry, the boot comes flying out of his hand.
Yes.
It clobbers Terry Gordy, goes into the crowd, and then the crowd throw it back. Kerry catches it and clocks Terry with it again. But yeah, those boots came into play a hell of a lot in the match. Multiple times you'll see somebody in a corner just getting wailed on with a cowboy boot, and they turn around and someone cowboy boots them in the face. It's just it was just disorganized madness.
It was just absolute chaos.
And then you see Terry Gordy and Michael Pierce with wrestling essentially with one boot on, which is just amazing.
In jeans as well, jeans and a t-shirt. Like you said, Michael Hayes bleeds, Kevin Von Erich bleeds. I think Kerry at the end is split open as well at some point. Mike Von Erich ends up tangled up in the ropes. He's got one leg kind of stuck in the top rope, hasn't he? And Michael Hayes comes over and he's stamping on him. And initially you can see that these are working stamps, these are working stomps, for want of a better term. By the time that they cut away from it, he's kicking the shit out of this kid. He's there's one where he stamps on his arm and then his chest, and I'm thinking, Jesus, man,
laying it in, absolutely laying it in.
Yeah, Hayes absolutely kicks the shit out of him. But I mean, it's not long then after that moment that we kind of come to the actual finish, don't we? It's just absolute chaos and bedlam. And we on Nitro Nights, there's a few occasions where we're watching street fights or watching multi-man matches, and they have this split screen thing that Danny and I aren't particularly fond of, because it's almost like the split screens make it too small. Okay. You kind of feel like there are times when, if they had the technology in Texas at this point, a split screen might have been beneficial once every now and not a great deal, but once every now and again, because there was so much going on, you know, so many things happening. You probably missed some stuff where you're looking at other things, Mags.
Yeah, and with only having one camera, there's some action that is happening on one side of the ring, whilst the camera's focusing on another side of the ring. So yeah, there's this could have done with maybe some split screen action, but it is the 1880s, so they probably didn't have two cameras back then.
Oh yeah, there we go. Kerry Von Erich gets chucked to the outside. Terry Gordy, he hits Buddy Roberts by mistake here. He's supposed to be hitting, I think it was Mike Von Erich, but he moves and he nails his own partner with the boot. Kevin, sorry, he was supposed to be hitting, wasn't he? Mike then head scissors Roberts to the outside.
Yeah.
But then Killer Khan comes out of nowhere then, knocks Kerry Von Erich off the middle rope. Hayes covers him and they win the match. And the crowd are very, very pissed off. And that's kind of the end of that for now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're misremembering a little bit there. There's another spot where one of the Von Erichs, I don't know which one's which, they do the same thing as the Freebirds did, where one hits the other. Then,
yes, yeah.
Kerry is actually he's in the corner, and Michael Hayes is like doing the attempting the 10 count punches. That's when Killer Khan, whoever this guy is, I've never seen him before in my life. He comes in and does kind of like a Samoan spark, I think, which knocks Kerry to the floor, and then we get the very quick count from Michael Pierce, and then they try and escape through the crowd, and the crowd are fucking livid. They are not happy at this whatsoever.
They struggle to get back to the dressing room at one point, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
the crowd want to rip the Freebirds apart, mate. Yeah,
it was bedlam.
It was, and that's what made it so appealing to me. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. I'm intrigued now, Magsy. And again, you got to look past the fact that you had to watch something that was filmed on a potato or go through all the nonsense on the network. What did you think in summary, and what do you give it out of 10?
So, if I were to include all the rigmarole of actually getting to the match, this would be very low ranking. But despite the fact it's from the time of Methuselah, despite the fact it's territory wrestling that I totally was not invested in whatsoever, and despite the fact that this feud went on for forever, in a time now where a feud is finished in 2 months, this is the total other opposite of the end of the spectrum. I enjoyed the chaos of this match.
Yeah.
It is not pretty to watch. You're not going to be astounded by any technical prowess, but you will feel the passion and the hatred that these two groups of guys had for each other. And it looked like a real fight. So it ticks all the boxes that it tried to tick. So for that, I've got to score it relatively highly. It's certainly not the best thing I've ever watched, but I don't regret watching it. So I'm quite happy to give this a 7.
Bloody hell. See, the way you've been talking all show, I thought you were going to pan this.
See, that's the twist. That's the twist, man.
And I am so happy that you didn't. Honestly, again, I said it earlier on the show, but Sharon will confirm in the chat, no doubt, how giddy with excitement I was that I got to talk a little bit of territories wrestling, a little bit of proper old school wrestling.
Let's
and
never
so
do it again.
Also, people who voted for it, thank you so much. It's awesome, because whenever I put anything like this up, it doesn't win. So just the opportunity after 95 episodes.
And from my point of view, fuck you all for that. You were all in the bad books with me.
But there's so much that you can learn, the history and so on. I mean, the Freebirds, everything like the New Day nowadays, a hugely popular act. Everything the New Day do, with regards to anyone can defend, any two of the three can defend it and so on. It all goes back to the Freebirds. They started all this. They were the first 3-person group in wrestling. Sharon in the chat there saying, I've been really fucking annoying.
That's why it's called the Freebird rule.
Exactly. Just so much they influenced. And you mentioned that this feud went on for so long because it was drawing money. That's how great this was, because it was drawing money. It continued to draw money for years. That's how great this was.
Dan Griffin, I don't recall Terry Gordy playing a trombone. I guarantee in at least one of those thousands and thousands of WCCW episodes that I had to peek through, he's had a trombone in there. He's got to have had. He's definitely had some pancakes being thrown, and I'm sure I've seen at least one portion of booty horse whilst researching this match.
I just think that it's so influential on modern day wrestling, and I also think that
don't
this
over-egg
is
the pudding.
No, okay, but I also think that this is how a street fight should be done. This is how a street fight
Yeah,
should be done.
I agree with
to
that.
me. It shouldn't be, as I said before, moonsaults and sharpshooters. That makes no sense. This is how a fight should. And the fact of the matter is, it was so chaotic and just absolute bedlam. I enjoyed because it was chaos. It never relented. It was just the same 100-mile-an-hour pace from the opening moments till the final decision. And it helped as well, I think, that the match was only 10 minutes. Because if there was 20 minutes of this, that would have gone on too long. It would have been too much of the same thing. It's done very, very well to me. I've actually got 7.5 out of 10 written down here, Magsy. I'm amazed you've gone as high as you did. I'm really glad you enjoyed it as much as you did. Honestly, I'm really happy right now.
I'll never watch it again unless it comes up in episode 100 and we have to recover it. But I wasn't as disappointed as I thought I would be.
Yeah. See, I try not to steer people wrong. And even if the matches aren't great, there's history we can pick up from these territory days. You know, there's always interesting talking points. So there we go. So Magsy, where shall we go next week?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of routes that I was contemplating. But I think the 3-man gimmick is interesting, not something that we've not looked a lot at on this show. I believe that the Freebirds are overhyped. I think that you give them way too much credit. I believe that the Von Erichs are a footnote on the world of wrestling. And I believe that there is one team that sits atop of the 3-man mountain. And I also believe in the Shield.
Oh, okay.
So for my pick for next week's topic, I want to go to the very last match of the Shield's run as a 3-man team. The WWE actually did their own network special because of this being the last match of the Shield, because of how they had changed the game in modern day wrestling. So on the network, it's actually called the Shield's Final Chapter. And the main event of that show is the Shield. Obviously, Ambrose, Reigns, and Rollins taking on Baron Corbin, Bobby Lashley, and Big Daddy Drew McIntyre.
Sorry, Corbin, Lashley,
and
McIntyre.
And McIntyre, yes.
Okay. See, I think I would have seen that when it happened, but I don't remember anything about it.
Well, we'll get to experience it together.
Interesting. You probably will, mate. You probably will, because I'm not going to win 2 polls in a back-to-back, am I? Let's be honest. Shield's Final Chapter. That's actually what the show is called on the network, is it?
The Shield's Final Chapter, yes.
Okay. And there's some great workers there. I mean, Drew's fantastic. Lashley, I think, especially in his later years, is getting better and better. And all 3 guys from the Shield are fantastic as well. Corbin, yeah. But
I won't have a bad word said about Corbin. He is so good at his role of being the shithead heel. He's so good at it.
I did enjoy his stuff in NXT as well.
And his 2 finishing moves are superb. Deep Six and End of Days, quality finishing moves.
I miss his old entrance music from NXT, though. That was good.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. I like Happy Corbin, though, and Rich Corbin.
Happy Corbin. Comedy gold, mate. Comedy gold. I am going to go slightly earlier in history. Mate, I can't go from a territory match having just I'm on this huge high. I'm this buzz of excitement of being able to finally cover something as interesting as what we just watched without trying it well.
So Sa has decided that there's not going to be any pick next week. You get what you're given, and we will be having the Shield versus Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre and Baron Corbin. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate you. Oh, fuck's sake, he's unmuted.
Will you stop muting my fucking mic? You jackass. I would like to have I think the territory days are so interesting with how different companies went out of business and what.
Don't pick another territory match.
I've got it written down now. I can't do anything. Well, Dan Griffin in the chat there saying Mags is picking a 3-count match. If I could think of a 3-count match off the top of my head, I could be tempted, but I won't. the territories to me, the way that the businesses all went, they went to the wall and McMahon bought them all out. I find that really interesting, like the business, how it works and how the underhanded tactics of McMahon and so on, and buying, people's contracts and arenas and TV rights and all that. I find fascinating. Some of the last standing territories to go up against McMahon, obviously Jim Crockett Promotions stood strong for a while before being bought out by Turner and all that sort of stuff. But World Class, which we just had a match from, and the AWA were the last two, along with Jim Crockett Promotions. Not that there were others, but there were others, but that they were very prominent. AWA at one stage was a massive company. Dan Griffin there, 3 count versus John. Yeah, see, I reviewed that for you. I think it was UTT I was on, and I ain't going back to that. They had one last big attempt in 1988, the AWA's first actual foray into pay-per-view, to try and fight off the advancing WWF, I suppose, takeover, whitewash of the country, I guess. And they combined a few different territories that were left to put on a massive pay-per-view supercard. And one of the main events from that show was the unification of the AWA world title with the world title that was held by Kerry Von Erich, recognized as being the old World Class, but the name had changed a few times and so on. So it's 2 territories unifying their world championship to have one world champion to try and build a bigger company to go up against Vince McMahon. Now, if this match wins, it's not just the match I want to look at, it's the history of them trying to battle off McMahon and go into shit and it all goes wrong and so on. It's an absolute bloodbath. The AWA champion at this point is Jerry the King Lawler, and he is facing Kerry Von Erich, as I mentioned, from World Class. Sort of not long before he joined the WWF himself, Mags, I suppose. When did he join WWF? 1990, was it? Something like that?
You're picking a fucking Jerry Lawler.
Yeah, but it's Jerry Lawler. It's Jerry Lawler from '88, and it's a good brawl. There's plenty of blood, plenty of action, a crazy odd finish, and the final nail in the territory days, especially for the AWA. This show effectively killed off some of the final resistance to Vince McMahon's expansion. So a lot of history there to discuss. If it potentially wins, which I don't think it will, I won't be that lucky twice. I thank everyone for this week. I love that. That was enough.
Buttering everyone up. Oh, I've never been so lucky. Please.
I did. I loved it.
You talked all about that, about the death of the territories, and this was the last hurrah. If that match wins, it's the last hurrah of chain wrestling. Because if you make me sit through another shitty territory match again, I'm going to have another mental breakdown.
May I steer your attention to Ted Arcidi versus Tony Atlas, and you not being able to take the higher ground with moaning about pointing out certain matches? Okay.
I don't remember shows week to week. What happened last week does not reflect my viewpoints this week.
So there you go. Those are your options on this week's poll. From the Shield's final chapter show on the WWE Network, we have the Shield, so Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns taking on Baron Corbin, Bobby Lashley, and Drew McIntyre. What year would that have been, Magsy?
2019.
2019.
Believe in the Shield. Believe.
So, yeah. The Shield's final chapter, a 6-man tag there involving the Shield, Corbin, Lashley, and McIntyre. Or we have the title unification match from Super Clash 3. Presented by the AWA and various other promotions as well. Jerry Lawler versus Kerry Von Erich in a crazy bloodbath that has quite a bit of history attached to it as well. So those are your options. The poll will go up towards the end of the week after the audio version has come out. Are you wanting me to fist bump you there, Magsy, on the screen?
No, I'm just believing in the Shield.
Okay, no worries. I do like the Shield, to be fair. They were great. They were very, very good. But yeah, those are your options. Magsy, I've had a lovely time this week. This has been good. Great non-wrestling topic.
I've hated every second of it, so yin and yang, I suppose.
Yeah, this is why this show balances out so well, mate. So. Do you want to let everybody know, my friend, whereabouts they can find you online so you can continue to blank the bastards at will?
No, I don't, because they're going to pick a shitty match from back in the dark ages when electricity wasn't even a thing. So no, don't follow
It's
me.
1988. It's like
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
actually December. It's December 88.
When
It's nearly 89.
was wrath.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
But yeah, follow me down here on Twitter at PodFatherMags or on TikTok at MagsAllPods.
Yeah, there we go, mate. There we go. You can find me, well, ignore me. You can find the network on Twitter and Facebook at SJP World Media, where you get all the shows involved on the network there. You get the audio version of this. You get Nitro Nights with Scottish Danny. You get the Doctor Who pod coming back very soon for season 3 with Dan Griffin and I. You have people looking at modern day WWE in Benny Mac within the corner. Twice a week now that is coming out, separate shows reviewing Raw and SmackDown and covering rumors and other stuff as well. And I believe this week's episode has a little cameo from his cat that wouldn't leave him alone whilst he was trying to record, so there's something to look forward to. We have the guys from the States doing regularly scheduled hostilities, also reviewing what's going on in the world of modern day wrestling. NXT Look Back with Joshua Goodwin. There's so much going on. There is so much going on. Back when the Quantum Leap podcast, The Waiting Room, is back. First episode dropped last Friday. That's had some great responses as well. So much going on and even more coming as well. That's at SJP World Media on Twitter and Facebook and on every podcast player you can imagine. You know, all the good ones and some pretty shit ones as well. Dan Griffin in the chat says, CWF, let's keep voting for territory matches. It'll be funny.
I hate you all.
And you can find this show as well, most importantly, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and that TikTok thingamy at @chain_wrestling. That's at @chain_wrestling. Chuck it all a follow. Make sure you subscribe as well to the YouTube channel and all that good stuff, all your podcast players and whatever. And you won't miss an episode when we go live or when a podcast drops. Magsy, I'm off now to fire out the WWE network and try and find what the oldest territory matches they have on there, because maybe I can link to that at some stage. I'll see you next week, my friend.
Fuck off.